Welcome to the Life of Hair. My name's James Atkinson. Thank you for choosing to tune into this episode. Now, in this episode, we're going to watch somebody else do hair. It's Lola. And I came across this video because she has got an enormous amount of brown hair on her head and she is going to bleach the entire thing. Now, this is a massively technical job to do, even if you weren't doing it on yourself. And she is going to take this on herself. So I won't give it away. But if you love hair tutorials and you want to see more, then consider subscribing because I've got hundreds of hair tutorials over on my channel. So if you like hair and you love hair tutorials, consider subscribing because I've got hundreds of hair tutorial videos over on the channel. And if you enjoy this at some point throughout the video, it would be massively helpful if you hit that thumbs up button. It does the videos the world of good. Right, let's jump into today's video and hear from Lola.
I hope you're having a great day so far, and if you're new here, hello and welcome. My name is Lola Kate. Thank you for joining me. So in today's video, I will be bleaching my own hair. My plan is to transform my hair from the two tones of color that I currently have to a solid, all over, creamy blonde from root to tip. Disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only. I am a fully licensed hairstylist and I do not advise anyone to bleach their own hair themselves. Please go to a professional to help you because bleach can be very damaging for your hair if it is used incorrectly. Also, if you are trying any new products, please follow manufacturer instructions and always do a strand test and an allergy test 24 hours prior to the application to see how your hair and also your skin respond to the products. Okay, so first thing I am going...
Good advice. I mean, seriously. Always do those things. I talk about it a lot. I advocate you always check, do your skin test, do your strand tests. Really, really good upfront advice. I don't know about you. I'm mesmerized by her lips. I mean, they are big lip and they're shiny. And I'm like drawn into those. Anyway, I was distracted by her lips. I heard what she was saying, but I was staring at her lips. You'll be staring at them too now, probably.
What I'm going to do is assess my hair so I can work out which areas need to be applied first with the lightener and also which strength of lightener that I will need to use. As you can see, we are very dark here at the roots. The hair has not been tinted dark at all. This is my natural virgin hair color where all of the dark is. This is where all of my roots have grown out. So we are about a level 5 here on the color chart. Then here on the ends, we have very light blonde tones, which have previously been colored with a permanent hair color and also lightened with bleach. In these areas, we have levels of 8 and 9 on the color chart. So to get an even result, each area will be treated differently as my end goal is to achieve a level of 10 from root to tip. So the color technique that I need to do today is a color correction rather than just a regrowth touch-up. If my regrowth was around 2 to 3 centimeters only, then it would be a very different technique and process. Let's go through and have a look at the products that I will be using for today. Okay, so first I'm going to wash my hair with a clarifying shampoo. So today I will be using this one here. It is by Davro.
So interestingly, a lot of people don't advocate that you wash your hair prior to bleaching, as a little bit of sebaceous oil on the scalp can protect your scalp a little bit. I've never known if that's a real thing or not. It's very hard for for people to come in. People wash their hair just before they come in the salon, and then you scalp bleach them, and others have left it for days because that's what they've heard that is the appropriate thing to do. I'm not entirely sure there's a right or wrong way to go about that. I'm perfectly honest, with you guys about that. I've never seen anything to substantiate whether that's a good or a bad idea. But obviously, she's going for it. If you're going to pre-treat the hair, then cleanse. If you're going to put on some kind of porosity evener or a strengthening product or something like that, then yeah, of course you're going to have to cleanse. And cleansing does remove some of the products from the hair. So some of the things that you might have seen are like these metal in the water. If you've got copper or things like that that affect the hair, then it's sometimes a good idea to jump in with those kind of things. But I'm on the fence. I've never seen it be such a big deal to do something prior to actually colouring your hair.
I like to use a clarification shampoo to ensure that my hair is clean from any impurities, mineral buildup, and also any product buildup in the hair. This is important because bleach can chemical reaction to any alcohol products like mousse, gel, hairspray. So I always like to do this step before I start any extensive bleaching process. Next, we have one of my favorite brands for lightener. It's by Schwarzkopf. It's their Blonde Me powdered lightener.
Now, did you see on the packet it says poison? And some of you may know that I use Joico products, and I've noticed Joico and Schwarzkopf are owned by the same umbrella parent company, and they have poison written on. It's the first time I've ever seen it. It's fascinating, isn't it? That label's like really scary.
I will be mixing it with their Blonde Me 7 volume developer, also their Blonde Me 20 volt developer. So as you can see, they are from the same range. The next step after my bleaching process is to then go in and tone my hair. Today I will be using a demi-permanent hair color by the brand Lola, which should last up to 24 washes, and it will also add a beautiful shine in the hair, and it's also ammonia free. I have the shade 901 here, which is a mixture of natural and also a light ash blonde, and I will be mixing it with Wella's 6 volt developer. Okay, so those two go together. This is the demi-permanent V-toner. Next, we have Protect by Australian brand Di Lorenzo, and how I use it is by popping in 1 pump of Protect into the lightener that is going onto my scalp to stop the burning and itching feeling that bleach can have.
Now that's interesting because obviously I was saying that if you're going to pre-cleanse the hair, it can take away that barrier. So she's negating that with the product. So, she's ahead of me on that one. She was dead right as well when she was talking about, like the things that can build up in hair can have an adverse effect on the result. So, yeah, this all makes sense. Let's see what happens. I've only seen the end result as a clip. I don't know how she gets there, but it's actually looking like a good result.
Only to my scalp bleach lightener though, not for my mid-lengths and ends. Tools I will be using: a scale to weigh the products.
She's a girl of my own heart. Scales are so important, like so important. If you do not use scales at this point, it is time. You need to get some scales. They are life-saving. Truly, when it comes to accurate color application, mixing, results, no swelling, all of those things, accurately mixing makes the biggest difference.
Comb, a color board, which is just my personal preference. I actually picked this up off Amazon for $8. Best $8 ever spent. Okay, just some long clips, some butterfly clips, hairdressing foil, a couple of color bowls, one for the scalp, one for the mid-lengths and ends, and some gloves to protect my hands. Okay, so it's time to wash my hair with the clarifying shampoo. I'll be back in a sec.
Okay, I'm just going to jump in about the damp hair or wet hair that she's got here. Whenever you put anything onto wet hair, unless it specifies that it goes onto wet hair, you are putting it onto hair that is at a different pH to what it was designed to be used for. You'll also be slightly diluting the strength of the peroxide, should you do that. Now, not to say this isn't going to work and it's wrong. No, that is not what I'm saying at all. It's just that in this particular instance, if you're using a product that does not specify to apply it to wet hair, you really should think twice about it and like fully dry it before you start, because if you're putting it on the wrong pH, you can have some adverse effects. This is slightly negating the point of her even cleansing the hair, because now she's actually putting the colour onto hair that's not in the pH that it's designed to be.
And I will be starting from the back and working my way to the top. And I've just mixed up my lightener. Here I have 2 bowls of product here. In bowl 1, I have mixed up 80 grams of lightener with 160 grams of 7 volt developer, and also 1 pump of Protect by Di Lorenzo. And in bowl 2, I have mixed up 80 grams of lightener and 160 grams of 20 volt developer. And this one does not have any scalp protect in it because this is for the mid-lengths, so it won't be touching my scalp. Starting with the roots and applying the lightener with 7 volt first. Next we have our foil, which has been painted with the lightener in 20 volt. Now placing it on top of the color board, and it goes underneath the first section. Now applying more lightener with 20 volt onto those mid-lengths. The board helps out by supporting the hair as I apply more product, removing the board now and folding that foil in half. And now moving up to the next.
Now, is it me, or is she amazingly dexterous? I mean, I don't know, like, she got round the back of her head way too easily there. That was insane. She's made that look like a piece of cake. And I don't know whether she's got like some kind of monitor where she can see the bits of hair she hasn't painted, because she hasn't used her hands to like rub it in. I was expecting her to like rub it in with her hands. It's a good idea. One of the things that she's done that's really smart, if you're going to be doing anything like this, even on somebody else, is that she's using that very low volume, 7 volume, almost like toner level developer on the root area, so that she's got some time with the root area. Because one of the things that you can encounter, and I've made videos on how to manage this, is like hot roots. The scalp is giving off the same temperature as the body for about 1 centimetre roughly, about a finger's width. It's emanating off the body, and then after that everything's the same temperature as the room, so there can be quite a big discrepancy, 17, 18 degrees in between the lightener kicking off the scalp and obviously the ends. So it's it swings in roundabouts. You've got to bear that in mind. You either don't do the roots and then you do them last, but that would be so hard on yourself. So I can see why she's done that. Or you paint a very low lightener at the root area and then take it into something a bit more heavy duty, like 20 volume, 30 volume, whatever it is, like she is here. But she has got bleach on the ends, so I'm fascinated to see what she does about the bleach on the ends in terms of overlapping, because that will create some serious damage if she's going to be lifting it as much as I believe she is.
Section. And again, here at the roots, I am applying the lightener with 7 vol and then 20 vol for the mid-lengths. When working with a lightener, timing is very important, which is why I don't actually use the regular T-section parting, because I find when I'm mapping out these sections, those first areas that get painted with a lightener end up being over-processed, which is why I prefer to start at the back sections with a lower strength of developer and evenly apply each section and work my way up the hair. Also, the underneath and back areas generally need a longer time to process because of the darkness and the density of the hair in those areas.
That is a really good point, by the way. Quite often, the hair underneath the occipital bone and underneath the crown is darker because it has not seen so much UV and like oxygen lightning. So that is a really good point, and it's a really good thing to just start in the back when you're colouring anyway, because you can take the back out should you need to. I don't know if you saw or paid any attention to it, but she sectioned that hair off so cleanly in the back of her head, and she's not even looking. I don't know what's on that table, but I feel like that there's something that's helping her, because she was like, she took it like seriously clean. Amazing.
I work my way up to the top and side areas, I will boost up the strength of the lightener to even out the time difference from the back to the front. I like to use my colour brush to apply the colour at the roots, and for the mid-lengths I use a colour brush along with a wide tooth comb to detangle each section of hair as I paint on the product, just to ensure that each section of the hair is getting even distribution of the lightener. I sometimes also use my hands to really work the lightener into those mid-lengths. As you can see, I am using a lot of product, and the reason is that I like to completely saturate each section of hair that I'm working on.
Very, very good advice indeed. In fact, everything you're saying is brilliant advice, by the way. This girl needs more followers. I will link her down in the description. I haven't seen any of other videos, so I'll double check that they're appropriate for, you know, before I do that. But really, really good advice. 10 out of 10 in terms of making sure you get plenty of product on the hair when you're doing a job like this. It's paramount that you get tons and tons of products on the hair. You will not get the result you want if you scrimp on the saturation.
Just so that the lightener does not dry out, because if the lightener dries out, it actually stops lightening the hair, and that means we would only be getting about 10 to 15 minutes of lifting time. Whereas if there is plenty of product on each section of the hair, it will stay saturated and moist and continue doing its job and lifting the hair for the full amount of the processing time. Have a look underneath there. The roots have already started lifting up lighter, and that's just with using the lightener mixed with 7-Vol, which is a very low strength of developer. And it's because, one, the heat from my scalp is helping the lightener lift the roots up. And the second reason is that the hair has been completely saturated with the lightener, which is also incubating the hair and stopping that lightener from drying out so that we are continuously getting that lift. Now, as for the mid-lengths, which are slower to lift, this is because these areas do not get that heat from the scalp, which is why I am using a higher developer in those areas to give it a boost, along with the foil, which helps out by generating heat onto those mid-length areas. And the foil is also incubating the mid-lengths. I am continuing to leave out the existing blonde ends for later, as they will not take long to lift at all, which is why we leave them out to avoid over-processing those ends. Speaking of ends, which by the way are well overdue for a haircut, but we will leave that for another video. Okay, and that is the back 3 sections now completed. Moving up now to the top area where I have bumped up the strength of the developer. The mixing ratio for the lightener is 2:1, so for the roots I am using 40 grams of lightener mixed with 30 grams of 7-Vol and 50 grams of 20-Vol with 1 pump of Protect for the scalp. And for the mid-lengths I am using 40 grams of lightener with 80 grams of 20-Vol. Once the top section is completed, I now bump up the developer again for the 2 side sections. For the roots there, I have mixed up 50 grams of lightener with 100 grams of 20-Vol. And for the mid-lengths, I am using 50 grams of lightener with 50 grams of 20-Vol and 50 grams of 30-Vol.
Interesting use of peroxide. I mean, I actually, off the record, I actually do what she's advocating here occasionally, where I add in stronger peroxides. And someone did say to me once that that's not something that, you know, works, but I feel it does work. It does. If you put 30-Vol and 20-Vol, you do get a stronger version of a 20-Vol. Logically, that makes sense. But you know, she's doing it, and she's doing it in a very smart way, and she's really like calculated about it. And in fact, even if you're not just painting it on your own hair, but the way that she's going about this is very, very sensible indeed, because obviously she really is being very, very fastidious with, you know, what she's mixing up. Must be being very accurate, otherwise she'd be throwing a lot of color away each time she's switching. So she's obviously just mixing up what she needs each time, and that's great. So, I mean, in terms of applications, although she's doing some of her own hair, and like she said, she is a licensed professional, and this is entertainment. This is real hair education. Like, this is the sort of thing that, just because she's applying to her own hair, these are the sort of things that you should really, really consider when you are scalp bleaching somebody. End of story.
So with 30 volume developer, I try my best to use it sparingly, as it is a strong developer, and if left in the hair for too long can damage the hair. But I could see that the back and top sections were already lifting quite light. So for the sides to lift up in time, I definitely need to go up in strength. I can keep my eye on both of these side sections to make sure that it is not left on for too long and that the hair is not being compromised or over processed. Once I finish applying the last section, I will let the color process. However, I will be checking it every 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so the color has been on the hair for half an hour at this point. So I am now going to have a look to see if we have lifted it light enough. Okay, looking good. So you see it looks pretty even at the moment. So what I'm going to do now is one by one remove the foil, and then I have mixed up another bowl of lightener and 7-vol developer, which is more gentle. And as I remove each foil, I will then add some more lightener onto the ends. So I'm just going to do that now. Okay, so I've just finished applying the colour, just been babysitting the lightener on my hair, and even though I can see some yellowy tones throughout, it doesn't bother me too much. Overall, it has lifted up even enough. Yeah, I don't want to leave it on too long because I don't want to damage my hair too much. So I'm going to now just quickly jump in the shower, shampoo my hair. I'm not going to condition it though. I'll come back and then we will tone my hair. So I'll be back in a sec. Okay, and
Okay, so you're going to shampoo it and not condition it. Now, lots of people believe, and you may believe this, that it's not a good idea to condition your hair before you put a toner on because it will create a barrier between, your hair and the conditioner. Whereas if you're using a good professional conditioner, it will not leave a residue on the hair that will create a barrier. All it will do, it will reduce the pH of the hair back down to something that's a little closer to the natural pH. So the natural pH falls in the range, generally speaking, of 4.5 to 5.5 pH. When you bleach the hair, the pH goes right up, 10, 11, wherever it ends up, right? If you just shampoo the hair, it will bring it down a part of the way, but it won't bring it down all of the way. And then if you put a toner onto wet hair, unless it specifically specifies, which there are that some specify, I think probably Weller is one of the ones that specifies that you can apply it to the hair when it is wet. And it's obviously designed to then go onto hair that is of a slightly higher pH. You do need to make sure that you thoroughly towel dry and or dry the hair completely. Now, I did a video about what's best in terms of Redken toners when I worked for Redken all those years ago. It wasn't actually that long ago, it just feels like a long time ago. Anyway, so the reality is that I determined that thoroughly towel drying was as close to fully drying the hair and much, much quicker. So, you decide what's best for you. But she's going for wet because I think that Weller one does actually go onto wet hair. But she hasn't conditioned it, so the pH will be higher than wet hair would be normally. Let's see. On a very, very quick side note, it is looking amazing.
I didn't condition, and now we're ready for the toner. So in here, I have just mixed up the demi hair color that I showed you previously. So the mixing ratio for this is 2:1. So I've got 60 mils of shade 901 and 120 mils of 6-vol developer. The toner will neutralize the brightness of the blonde and also counteract the gold tones that I have throughout the hair. So I'll just apply that now. So starting off with the roots first, I always like to make sure that...
Okay, we won't watch her apply a toner because it's just a very simple job of getting it all over and evenly. If you can't apply a toner, you won't have got that first phase right anyway. Your hair will be a patchwork quilt of colours.
Okay, this is the end result here. As you can see, we have a beautiful creamy blonde.
I mean, considering she's done this to herself and what an enormous regrowth she had. Lola, if you're watching this, if you've ever seen this video, you smashed it. There's nothing else to be said about that. If you can do that on somebody else to that standard, you are a very good hairdresser indeed. If you can do that on yourself to that standard, I think you're a genius. Congratulations. I'll see you in the next one.